You're listening to the Comic Crusaders Podcast. I am your host, Al Mega, CEO of Comic Crusaders and Undercover Capes. In this show, I'm sitting down with creators from all walks of life to talk about inspiration, process, the lessons they've learned, and a whole lot more. Well, Power the Mentas here, boy. I'm Mega. Welcome to a brand new Comic Crusaders Podcast. And today, we have a return guest, baby. That's right. Here's the creative mind behind a comic book called Halloween Team. And today, he is going to share his insights into the relaunch of this amazing book through a fire independent comic book company called Comicker Press. We're going to be talking about their journey from its initial release to its new graphic novel edition, baby. That, listen, everybody's going to want to get in their hands. Let me introduce the big boss, the big legend, the man himself. Wepa, Danny Baram. How you doing, baby?
Good. Your intros are amazing. You're like Michael Buffer.
Hey, I'm gonna take his Rumble joint, but I definitely give it a whip. Let's go. I thank you for that. So Danny, welcome back. Thank you for wanting to even come back and talk about all this new news, man. That's popping off in your universe, if you will. So
thank you for having me, and I'm excited to just kind of get the word out that our graphic novel Halloween Team. It's relaunched just this week through a new really cool indie publisher called Comicker. They're kind of starting to make some big waves. They have a big slate of new books coming out this year from a lot of really talented creators. So, we had self-published Halloween Team previously, but we're really excited to have it kind of out to a wider audience now through Comicker, have it back live. We're up on Amazon, Global Comics, on Comicker's website, Comics One. And the really exciting thing, too, is that we have both digital and print available for the first time. So, if you're an old school comics fan like me, like you.
Smell that ink, baby. You can hold the book. We have some self porn. Yeah, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, print is very exciting because that's you love holding it in your hands and giving it to someone as a gift and all that kind of thing. So, that's very exciting too.
So, Papa, I gotta ask you, I mean, how did this whole partnership happen with Comicker since the last time? I mean, since your last visit, like what's been brewing in that cauldron of a mind, if you will? What's going on?
I mean, I had been for a while like looking out there at what publishers might be interested in the book, and I was submitting to a lot of places, and it's not easy. I mean, anyone that's done that knows there's a lot of rejection, a lot of people that you don't hear back from. And then I actually had connected randomly with a really great artist named Lori Jameson, who we had worked on a short horror story that actually, on a separate note, is there's a Kickstarter out today for this anthology story that we worked on together. It's called It's a Horror Show, the found footage anthology, side note. So Lori and I had connected around that. And I was talking to Lori, and Lori was like, I'm working with this really cool new company, Comicker. You should talk to them about Halloween Team. And so I connected with a guy, Pete Steiner, who's sort of running the show over at Comicker. And he's really great, really creative friendly. He's all about sort of creator owned and, giving power to the creatives. And so immediately I was like, this is good. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's what we need in these independent publishers that respect the creators, their journey, their IP, most importantly, because we've seen, some unfortunately bad players in the game that came about in the last few years that we see what's going on, and it's must be such a frustrating thing as an independent creator to have to fight back for your own IP.
And I mean the whole process with Comicker was great. Where like, I was able to, I'm not a lawyer, but, I was able to create a contract for myself and make sure I put in certain, things in there that I thought would protect me and the work. And, Pete was really open to that. He wasn't at all confrontational about it. And I know there's a lot of these contracts out there that creators are signing that are not, that are sort of sketchy.
Yeah, and not creator friendly. Yeah. Let's use those words.
Yeah,
creator friendly.
It was a relief to be dealing with someone that was very above board and was very aware of the bad actors out there, and it was immediately like, I am not one of those. We're gonna really, really do good things together here.
So let me ask you, in those conversations, were there like one-on-ones, face-to-face, like a real meeting, or like online or emails, like how this whole connection happened? Because again, it was a new world. So again, one-on-ones are rare when meet in person, or digital seems to be the way. Like, how did you connect and be able to gauge the energy to know that Halloween team was at the right home?
Yeah, Pete's based in Minnesota. I'm here in the Los Angeles area. So, we connected over just the phone, over Zoom. And yeah, just had a bunch of conversations, eventually kind of worked everything out in detail. But it was pretty quick overall. I think it happened right at the right time where Pete was sort of looking to get some new people on board for Comicker and trying to kind of relaunch it. And I came about kind of right at the right time. So I got very lucky, because the reality is a lot of the companies that I had been talking to, it was the wrong time, where they're like, we're downsizing, it's very uncertain. We're just focusing on IP, So to connect with Pete right at this moment was very fortunate,
Love it. Now, talking about connections, man, because I read a little bit of the story of yourself and the connection with the artists and the things you were going through at the time, man.
Yeah.
It helped you in times of darkness. So talk about this connection with this artist. Talk about that promance right there. Where did you meet your fantastic artist, Matt Schultz? And like, what was that connection like? And how did he help you through the journey you were going through? If you want to share what you were doing.
It was very random. It was, not random, but, when I was first brainstorming Halloween team a couple of years ago, I just posted on a Facebook forum, connecting writers and artists. And I tried to be very specific about, here's what I'm looking for. Here's how I will pay you. Here's what I'd like you to send me in terms of a sample. And I was trying to kind of weed out, the scammers and the spammers and all that. But Matt was very, he sent me some really great stuff. I could tell he was easy to work with and to talk to collaborate with. So very quickly it was clear, like, oh, this is the guy, because it was really great working with him from the start, but it was all online. So, it worked out really well.
Excellent. And have you ever met him in person?
No, he's in Texas, in Austin, Texas. So one day it would be great to, but I've not yet actually met him in person. So that's the world we live in now, I guess. And like you said, for me, I've been these last couple of years dealing with like severe long COVID issues. So I haven't been able to even like go to conventions like I'd like to, and like get out there as much. So I've had to really kind of rely on like email and social media and stuff like that, which can make things harder, because it is such a business of like networking and connections. But it is amazing what can happen just through random connections.
That's the new world, baby, and I love that. Those of us that sometimes, I could understand you. You know what I mean? Not that I'm dealing with any COVID, but sometimes I don't want to go out, but still I'm able to connect and build a web, if you will, as people call minds of connection. It's wonderful.
Yeah,
I love it, because again, there is a wonderful industry now. The comics available again on various digital platforms. How do you feel about that digital transformation of comics, though? Because I know, again, like you said, we're part of that old school gen. We love to people who look and smell that ink. But do you think the digital side of it has been beneficial to you as a creator?
It's tough. I think for a while it was very exciting when you had Comicology out there, and they were really doing a great job of you know, creating this sort of really nice storefront that was well curated.
Yeah, man.
Unfortunately, that doesn't fully exist anymore. And so I don't know that there's yet one like all-encompassing store that everyone's using. So the nice thing is there are a lot of smaller stores that are popping up. You know, we're now on Global Comics, which is really coming up.
Yeah, they're great.
Comics One. But it is a very like fractured marketplace right now. So it is a little tough as a creator where, you know, you want to point people to one place where they can go and find your book, but it's not so easy right now. I don't know, man. There's a lot of issues I think facing the comics industry right now.
So a lot of issues
going on with Diamond and yeah. So it's tough, but I think the main thing is just like putting books out there that people want to read. Yes. And people will find it, I think, if you have really good content.
And talk about this beautiful relaunch of yours. You know, are there any plans for like special editions, perhaps with behind the scenes, bonus material, anything? Because again, you know, you worked on this baby, you know, it's had a journey, and now it's landed, you know, at what you feel is a fantastic home now for it. So, you know, anything new, with new volume again?
The main thing is we just kind of did a polish where we, because originally we released Halloween Team as like a 4-issue series, and it was very divided into distinctly 4 issues. But at the same time, it always felt like, oh, you know, maybe it reads better as like one graphic novel. And I did sense that early on. And so with this new edition from Comicker, it just sort of smoothed out where it's designed to be read in one, you know, as one volume. And so we sort of did that polish to it. So I think it reads really well as like one story.
It does.
And otherwise, yeah, you just get to see some of the you still get the really cool covers that Matt Schultz did for each individual issue. I love those covers. So you still get those in this edition. But yeah, it's very straightforward, very, you know, easy to pick up and read. You don't need to know anything else going in. But now the hope is that this is now sort of volume 1. And the hope is that we'll have a volume 2 at some point soon.
I kind of loved it. You know, as I've been reading it, and again, folks, I have not finished it. I'm in like the middle of issue 4, if you will, of the volume. But I've been digging it because what I feel like it's, what if the Goonies reunited when they were older?
Exactly, yeah.
That's kind of what I felt about this book. You know, because that is the 80s view. It's adventure, it's mystery, there's some shit going on. And and look at this beautiful cover. I mean, that goes to show you, you know, that them as kids, them as adults, how they reunite. The story flows really nicely, and a lot of shit really does fucking pop off. So where the hell does your mind go, D? Because Jesus, bro, you're a sicko. You're a sicko. There's a lot of shit going on here. There's a lot of crazy energy and stuff.
Yeah.
Language, like, is that really fucking lying? What the hell's going on here, bro? You fucking me up here. Like, I was afraid to read it. Am I really gonna cast a spell? Shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of a mixture of a lot of different things. Like, you know, on one hand, I love, you know, horror, the supernatural. I love that whole, you know, for when I wrote this, I sort of did a little extra research on like, you know, witchcraft and spells and all that kind of stuff, just to try and, you know, the character of Casey in this is sort of a magic practitioner. So I wanted to really try and put some of that into it. But there's also like very grounded characters in this who are, you know, based on, you know, real life people, and I think are relatable to folks. And a lot of the themes that the book deals with are very like, you know, what you deal with when you're in your 30s and you're kind of growing up a little bit, but some of your friends are maybe more advanced than you. Some of your friends are kind of still more in kind of their 20s mindset. Yeah. And you're sort of trying to figure out like, where do I fit into this? And you're just trying to figure out like what it means to be an adult. And I think that's harder now than it used to be in some ways. So the book deals with a lot of those themes, but it's also got a lot of like crazy cults and monsters and demons and magic. So there's a little of everything in there.
I mean, and look at this cover, folks. That's a squad right there. Amazing Spider-Man. And I love it, man. The art. I mean, look at this. Just the panel, the coloring, the lettering. Holy fuck! But who does your lettering too? Because again, I like to shout out the letterers and the colorers. So who's that team behind that?
Matt Schultz did everything on this book. He did literally everything in terms of the art, including the lettering. So he really went all out on this and did an amazing job.
And look at this. Look at this.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite pages because there's no. I tend to be a little bit wordy sometimes when I write, but I try to get some pages in there that were, less wordy. And
I love it.
Really
You said, let me shut the fuck up and let the art shine, and then boom, magic happens. Huh?
Exactly. This page really tells its story without any words, which I love about comics. So.
Oh, it does. I mean, your artist really does know how to emote, if you will. So you really do capture the tension in the page, and then what happens? Like, oh fuck, that whack right there. There's no sound, but you fucking feel the whack, man.
I love that panel progression there.
I
mean, the book kind of escalates. Like this page is from like later on in the book, so we very deliberately started out where it's like a little bit quieter, and you're sort of getting a sense for these characters, this world, and then it kind of ratchets up, and by the end, shit kind of hits the fan there, and there's some crazy stuff that happens. So it's a little bit of a slow build, but stick with it, and by the end, it truly gets pretty insane.
All I'll say is, folks, please do not have a fan on in your house, because they will literally hit the fan. Like, you know what I mean? It's that far. But I mean, look at the level, the action sequences, the coloring. You feel that fucking punch, that home.
Yeah, I really I keep showing this page to people because it makes the book feel a little more actiony than it actually is. But Matt Schultz does such a good job with this page that I love it. It's honestly like one of the best punching a bad guy out panels that I've seen in a while. So I think Matt did
an awesome job. 100. If there's like a contest for a page or panel of the year, this one definitely got that emotion, everything. You feel the punch, man.
Yeah, this is some like Superman versus Doomsday type of stuff right here.
Yeah, man.
Again, not indicative of the entire book, but when the action hits, it hits pretty good. So
yeah, and shit is going on. That's what I'm saying, man. There's evil in the air. And you guys got to pick up this book through Comicker Press. No shit. I mean, look at that, man. I mean, right there, available on digital formats. I mean, are we going to get that really like that in a little hardcover? Are you teasing me here?
Oh, man. I would love a hardcover. Maybe once we've got like a couple volumes out, we could do a compendium of some kind.
Oh, a compendium. My man's going to go like the G.I. Joe Kickstarter. You're trying to get them hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions. Let's go, bro.
Yeah. I mean, this volume is relatively, compact, so it's a pretty quick read, but
not really. Get out of here. Stop lying. I've been enjoying this for quite some time, so folks don't listen, man. That's bullshit. I've been sitting here enjoying it for a little while, actually.
No, that's awesome.
And I love that. Like this actually is your money's worth. You really do sit down. It's not a 5-minute read. It's not a 15-minute read. It's not a 30-minute read. You're there for at least 40, 45 minutes, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And appreciating the art, I think it's really about a good 45-minute read. And you really absorb the story. You get to know the characters. And, really appreciate that art. Because, shit, now that you're talking your man, Matt, that just about everything, artistry-wise and lettering and fucking wow.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, and I'm sure Matt would as well. He really knocks it out of the park with the artwork. And I will say too, like the character design, that was something that he and I really collaborated closely on because we really wanted to nail like giving each character a very distinct personality. And it's tough because we have like the kid version of each character when they're 12, 13 years old. And then we have the adult version 20 years later when they're in their 30s. And so part of the fun is like, what is each character like when they're 12 versus when they're, 32? And some of the characters are very similar. Like our main character Tommy is actually deliberately he's not that different when
he's not grown up yet, bendito.
Exactly. But like Casey, is very different between the two versions of the character. So a lot of the fun is seeing that sort of metamorphosis play out.
I love that. Yeah, how do you do that as a writer though, to be able to get into that place and say, okay, this is how I want this character to grow. This is the lane I want them. Like, where do you dig in? What space do you get into to do that?
A lot of it is I think about myself. I think about other people I know in my life, and you sort of take little elements of them. It's not like any character in here is a one-to-one with a real life person, but you take like little elements from people like there's people I know who when they were kids, they were very nervous, they were very awkward. And then you see them now as adults and they're like super confident and, have everything together. And then you see the opposite. Like we all know the people from high school, right? Who were like the kings or queens of high school. And then that was sort of their peak. And then as adults, they're kind of losers.
Yeah. Three sons of the world. Yeah. Hey.
Yeah, and so you kind of draw on all that sort of inspiration, but a lot of it was that sort of fun of imagining these characters and their journey. And the fun part is we don't like hold your hand through all of it. You have to kind of, as a reader, fill in the gap, and sort of in your own head kind of connect all the dots of like, oh, how did they get from this to this? And when we have volume 2, we'll sort of further flesh that out a little bit. But for now, you get to use your imagination a little bit and try and figure out what happened between the time they were 12 and the time they were, 32.
The journey, baby. I love this, man. So we get in this volume 1 through comic. I mean, what's the plan here, Danny? I mean, how many issues is in that universe of yours, for Halloween Team? How many? We got like 200 issues planned out? What's going
on? I mean, the cool thing about Halloween Team is it's sort of a world where it could be infinite stories that go on forever. So, I would love to just keep doing it for a long time. And there's so many, like the way in my head that I think about it is, kind of like I grew up on the X-Files, right? And
cool.
On the X-Files, you would have like the case of the week episodes, and then you would have the mythology episodes. And I think there could be a really fun route for this story to take where, you have sort of the case of the week issues where they're dealing with a monster or demon, and it's sort of a one and done type of story. But then every so often you get into this big overarching story that ties back into the characters and their histories and all that.
Old school comic style, baby. Danny, please bring it to comic.
So I'd love to do that if I had the opportunity. So that's the hope,
comics, man. If you read Marvel, DC back in the day, sometimes you would get those one and done issues. Like, okay, you don't need to know all the story, but then you had, like you said, that hey, there's 4 issue arc over here within the title, not a separate fucking mini. Making you spend more money. I mean, let's go. Let's within the universe.
I've got a lot of good memories of those like one-off issues of comics I read as a kid, whether it was like Superman, Batman, whatever it was, that had those like really memorable sort of one-off stories. So I'd love to do that. And if you read, I love like dropping those little hints and planting those seeds. So if you read this volume, there's all kinds of little, I don't know if I'd say Easter eggs, but like little hints of,
not Easter eggs, but there's so much potential because based on the characters, you do drop hints that make you say, I wonder what the fuck happened as a reader. So
like even
good on you as a writer for making me even planting that seed in my head. And then, of course, we're gonna ask you, do you have anything planned for them? Like any fucking side books and shit? Like, what's going on here, bro?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much stuff. Like, I mean, this volume, Tommy, one of the characters is sort of like the POV character, and you get more in his head than any of the others. But in volume 2, the hope is to get more in some of the other characters' heads and really explore that and their POVs. And we've got a really fun, like diverse cast of characters. So I think there's a lot of potential there. And then like even, one of the first scenes in the book, you see Tommy kind of go to his apartment building, and there's all these little hints immediately of like, maybe there's some weird things going on in his apartment,
Oh yeah, well, I love that page because you freaked me out already reading, into it, and then when he does go home, and he's looking around, your artist to the good dad. I was like, yo, shit, and he's thinking what he's thinking. I'm like, motherfucker, damn, bro, this town that fucked up. Like, you have me like nervous for him. Like, yo, you living around shit. Folks, please.
There's so much stuff that I'd love to do with it. I mean, and it was designed in that way where to be that sort of X-Files, like you could do infinite stories.
Yeah, it's 90s X-Files, but it's also 80s because you add that kid aspect to it, and then just to see that it was like, okay, 80s kids adventures, and now there's what would happen once in the 90s, early 2000s and shit. This was popular.
Yeah. I mean, and no secret that I am a huge fan of like Amblin, 80s kid adventure type stuff.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, man.
So that's certainly an inspiration here. And I've talked about before too how the show Are You Afraid of the Dark from the 90s on Nickelodeon was a big inspiration. So there's some of that in there too.
You're definitely a Nickelodeon kid generation. That's more my brothers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm a tad older, just a wee bit.
Yeah.
Don't let the white man fool you. This is called stress.
Well, I always feel old because I feel like it's when I talk to younger people about like Nickelodeon back in the day, they have no idea what I'm talking about.
You feel like the old dude. Hey, at least I know what Nickelodeon is. Come on, man. We started with Double Dare, baby. I'm part of the OG.
Oh, yeah, I love that. But like, Are You Afraid of the Dark was sort of a gateway to horror for me where, it came on Nickelodeon on like Saturday nights, and I would sit down and watch it with my grandma when I was a kid. And it was like pretty spooky stuff. Like, considering it was a show for kids, like there's some stuff that really traumatized me from that show.
Yeah, I love it. Did you ever see Erie, Indiana?
I saw a little of it. I don't know if I ever like watched it all the way like I did with
those will bug you out too. Those are pretty fucking cool. Even though that wasn't, again, on my line. But it hit, and I would watch it, being an horror fan of like Monsters. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, I used to watch the reruns of Monsters on the anytime I was sick, like home from school, I would always turn on the Sci-Fi channel, and they would have the reruns of Monsters on, and I used to love that show.
What about Tales from the Dark Side?
You know what's funny with that one? I would always, if I ever saw it on, I would watch the intro because I love the intro so much, that really creepy theme song. But I don't think I watched the episodes as much.
Oh man, so many great episodes. If you're gonna watch on, check those out. I love those, man.
Yeah,
those are my like. Okay, I'm going to bed on the weekend. This is what I used to go to sleep to. No wonder I had fucking nightmares. Thanks, Mom and Dad.
And of course, Twilight Zone is like my all-time favorite. Show. So I'm obsessed with the Twilight Zone.
And let me ask you. You say you're obsessed. What did you think about the remake that they did? Kind of the new series that kind of brought a 3D, or an AI version of Rod Serling to us.
I haven't seen the newest one with like Jordan Peele.
Really? They brought Rod Serling to life, son.
Oh man. You know what it was? I think for me, the Twilight Zone, it's really about having those very short, concise 22-minute episodes.
One and done.
And as soon as I heard that the new one was like these hour-long episodes, I was like, I don't know. It just feels like, I love Black Mirror. I love what that show does with like the longer format. Yeah. But for the Twilight Zone, to me, it's about that really concise storytelling. So
they went outer limits with it. So I think it would have fit more within an outer limits universe as opposed to a Twilight Zone. But it was still a good series. It was fun. Jordan Peele, he's putting his shit out there. So
I do really like Jordan Peele. I mean, I love his movies. Get Out, Us. I love all those. So, I would be interested to go back and watch his Twilight Zone at some point.
Yeah, you got to, man. Because again,
Yeah.
you're bringing some cool shit here, and I think
Yeah.
that probably even inspire you further, man. Because you're an amazing writer, you have an amazing artist, and
Thank
now you're the fire independent press. With all the things that are going on in the industry, it's wonderful to see that the changes are bringing about positive changes. Now with
Yeah, I
Diamond,
think
being out, like, how do you feel? Again, I've been asking this question to some independent creators. Now that Diamond is bankruptcy, and there's even now rumors of them possibly not even coming back at all. Like, how do you feel about that?
It's tough. I mean, I love comic books, and I love what's unique about comic books, and I love the classic art styles. And to me, like if I go to a convention and I meet like any artist that I grew up with, like a Dan Jurgens or Tom Grummett or someone like that from that 90s era I grew up with, those are like heroes, to me, just absolute legends. And so to me, I put like comic book artists on such a pedestal, and just the art form itself is so magical. So I really hope we can find a way to preserve it. And the good thing is, I think there are still a lot of fans out there who love comics. And to me, the biggest problem is just like, how do we get people to understand where they can buy comics and how to follow it? Like last night we actually had like a Comicker sort of Zoom call where a lot of the creators were talking, and I was going on like this whole little mini rant of like, even Marvel and DC, like these are the two biggest publishers, right? I feel like every week I go and look at what books they're putting out, and every week I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that was coming out. I didn't know this was coming out. And there just has to be like better use of social media, better use of marketing and PR to like reach out to people,
Danny, coming from that side now, as the media person, yes, I have a website. I want to support everything and everybody. But yes, things have slowed down. Why? Because there have been changes within a lot of companies. And they seem to them disregard certain parts of the company that may help them more. Listen, platforms like mine don't charge them fucking anything to promote. I make money through my own shit, or Google, whatever, you know what I mean? So it's like, yo, we're a platform that people enjoy. I want to share your news. Let's go. There's still some companies, and I'll give shout outs to like Oni, Dark Horse, for example, Skybound and Image. They market the shit out of the books. They do. I'll say it. Yeah. Marvel. Every once in a while when there's something that's going to be hot, or if it's a whole bunch of variants coming out for a fucking month, you know what I mean? That's what they care about.
I was actually using, when we were talking last night, I mentioned Ghost Machine, because I feel like what they're doing is really strong, where every time I buy a Ghost Machine comic, I feel like in the back of the comic, they literally have a very clean page of like, here's all the book, here's what books we've got next week. Here's what books we've got the week after.
And it's, baby.
Like they're very good at doing this. And it's such simple things. Like, because last night we were talking, and, people had a lot of like creative ideas of like, oh, here's how we promote on social media. And, here would be like fun things to do. And all of that is really good. But like, and part of this is like my day job, I'm kind of more on the business side of things. And so that business part of my brain is like, all of that is good, but we got to just like tell people, when are the books coming out? What books do we have? Where can you get them? Start from there. And then you go and do all the fun creative stuff after that.
Absolutely, get to work. And I would love to be a part of a conversation like that one day, because I have so many ideas. I think that there's so many things that the market could do. Let's take over. You mentioned Big Two. I love them. For me, Big Two for me is like marijuana. The gateway drug. Yeah. But the indie is the higher level. That's the good shit, son. I don't even want to mention
you sort of like good shit. I feel like they tie together in a way too, where like, look, the reality is like a lot of my favorite like more indie books, I hear about the creators because they wrote on like Batman or something, and so I think you do need that pipeline to be strong. Of like,
of course.
Yeah, and
you bring the impact, you get the oomph. Those creators finally get the chance to work on something, and they bring that brand recognition to whatever independent title they're going to work
Yeah.
on.
So that's what I would say to like
again.
Yeah, like if I could talk to DC or Marvel, I would be like, look, I love your stuff. You guys are doing great stuff right now, but you guys have like the same 3 or 4 writers writing every book.
Yeah,
bro. Like give other writers a chance, because
that's how you do Scooby-Doo. I want to see you do Scooby-Doo on DC. I think you would murder that motherfucker, bro.
Thank you. That would be fun. That would be a good challenge.
Yeah, I think it would, because again, being the lane that this is, I think you could fuck around with Scooby-Doo hardcore. But of course, that's just my opinion. Now, Danny, it's manifest things. It's 2025. Again, you have a hit book on your hands with Comicker Press with Halloween team, no doubt. But if we could manifest anything in the world right now, if you could touch and put your hands on any character in existence in the known universe, which one would you want to do?
Oh man, well, this sounds like an obvious answer, but one of my dreams has always been to write something Superman related. That character means a lot to me, and I grew up loving Superman. I sort of grew up during that like Death of Superman, Return of Superman era. And to me,
I'm sorry you had the blue and red Superman. You enjoyed that?
Yeah. Oh well, not that we can put to the side, but I love using stories to comment on the world, right? And I think Superman is a very powerful character to use to sort of comment on the state of the world and things like that. And so, like one of my favorite Superman stories ever is Joe Kelly wrote, What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way. I love that kind of stuff where you can really use Superman and that supporting cast to kind of comment on where we are as a society, where we are as a country, all that kind of thing. And I love that. I've actually, I do film and TV writing as well. And, I've written some like spec sample scripts for the Supergirl TV show, for Superman and Lois, just to kind of put out there as samples. And it was so much fun writing those, because again, it gives you that chance to use such an iconic character to comment on things. So I love Superman, but I'm a DC Comics nerd. So any DC character, DC, if you're listening, I will literally, I would kill to write like anything from like Zatanna to Blue Beetle to Booster Gold to Guy Gardner, whatever it is.
No, I think it would also be fun on Blue Devil.
Yeah, that would be cool. I love all those like B and C list DC characters. Those all have a special...
What's Firestorm? People make fun of me, but I love Firestorm.
Yeah.
Make fun of me. Is it because he's a hothead? Yeah, get it, because I'm Latino.
It's been a while since they had like a good run on Firestorm. I remember this was probably like 15 years ago at this point, 20 years ago, when that run where Jamal Igle was doing it, and they had like the 2 different Firestorm characters.
Oh yeah, the new Jason Roosh became the new Firestorm.
I really liked all that stuff.
Got killed, died, and they brought it back as the Dark Firestorm.
Right,
Dark Storm was it? And the Blackest Night. That motherfucker looked badass, man.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track of where some of these characters are at, like in the continuity, but I feel like if characters are beloved enough, they'll eventually come back, Yeah,
but you know what's going to be beloved? Halloween team, folks. So again,
I hope so. And yeah, I mean,
it's happening.
What's that?
It's happening.
I hope so. Come on. I mean, look, I'm not trying to compare Halloween team to these books, but like, I know for me, I kind of got to that like next level in my comic reading, like around the time I was in, college, and was starting to read like Brian K. Vaughan, Why the Last Man, and like Preacher by Garth Ennis, and like all this stuff. There was just like new original stories. So I hope that there are people out there that are on that kind of road of discovery and are like proactively seeking out, new original comics and
things outside of superheroes. Things outside of comics are more than just superheroes, and that's something I try to put into people's head all the time. Oh, you mean comic books? Hey, Superman. And listen, comic books is so much more than that. Where the fuck you been? You know, it's like to a lot of people. This is how I gotta have these conversations. You know, they sound like I'm trying to diss them. No, I'm not dissing you, but you're trying to diss me. I'm not reading kitty shit. I'm trying to tell you that there's some people put in there fucking hard out there doing some books and some stories that will fucking murder you emotionally. You're like, what the fuck? So shut the fuck up. You know, pick up a book. You know, stop talking shit. Look for independent, because I think that's where the role is at.
Sure.
And
yeah, I mean, Comicker, keep an eye on them because they've got such a good roster of people right now, and it's very diverse. Like in terms of the content, where I mean, I'm doing Halloween Team that's a little more, I would say, like mainstream, like very much in the vein of stuff like Stranger Things. You know, it's got some weird supernatural stuff in there, but it's like a pretty mass audience type of book, I would say. But they've got, you know, everything that runs the gamut from like more out there, more indie stuff to like more mainstream stuff. They've really got just a very wide variety of things. But at the end of the day, it's about like giving a home to creators to do their thing and, you know, get their stories out there.
Beautiful. I like that. You see, you hear Danny, folks. Now check him out again. Once again, order your copy of the new graphic novel version of Halloween Team, Comicker LLC. You can go to their website again. I have everything in the show notes. All you gotta do is click. I got the Amazon. I got the Comicker link. You know, they can find them on Global Comics and others. All right. And of course, you want to connect with Danny, go check out with that. I mean, he still calls it Twitter, so I respected what he put, even though it's X. But you can follow Danny Baram or Halloween Team 22 on Instagram at Danny Baram, on Blue Sky, where he's
I'm using around a lot more these days. So you can follow me on there. Oh, and by the way, just because we have such a good logo for Halloween Team that Matt Schultz designed, I'll give a plug that if you go on Comicker's website, you can get Halloween Team t-shirts, enamel pins, and some other cool stuff. So I've got the t-shirt right now. You can see it.
Look at my man Miley. He opened up that shit so slow and sexy. Look at me.
Yeah, it's a little chilly in here, so I had the jacket. But yeah, it's a fun logo. Wear it to a Halloween party.
T-shirt again. I'm putting you on the bigger screen. There we go. Look, check it out there. Look at that. Hey, Pablo. There we go. Get that swag, baby.
It's a good logo. It's a good logo. So, you know, start spooky season early. You know, it's only February, but, you know, let's start spooky season now.
All the fucking time, man. Let's go. We get horror movies every month. You know, we living life, baby. And with that, thank you, Danny, again for hanging out with me, sharing your time, talking about a Halloween Team. You know, Comicker. Everybody, check them out. All the links again are below. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I see you guys. I wish you weren't shy, and I wish you guys would comment. You know, but maybe you guys are driving, or maybe you guys are working. But just a quick hello would be nice, and a quick like. All right, so make sure you subscribe, tune in, turn on those notifications. If you're watching on YouTube, whatever platform you're watching on, Rumble, let's go. Again, connect with Danny on all the platforms. Everything's everywhere. Thank you again. You guys rock. Mi gente, that's what it is. It's Almega and the incredible creator that is Danny B, baby. Wepa, Halloween Team in the business, baby. Oh, hasta la próxima. Thank you for listening to the Comic Crusaders Podcast. If you like the content, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, please visit ComicCrusaders.com and our extended podcast family over at UndercoverCapes.com. And also, make sure to download the Comic Crusaders app on the Google Play Store today.